Right, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for our next panel, which I'm sure will be the best panel, like no other panel there ever was. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for the voice of Ash Ketchum. Please get up for Veronica Taylor and Rena Taylor as well.
Awesome. We should do our own band.
I will be standing.
Are you sure?
I am fine. No, I am absolutely fine.
All right.
And don't forget, if you'd like to ask questions during our panel, we have 2 microphones that are going to be under spotlight when you appear. So if you have any questions you've ever wanted to ask, now is the time to ask our guests this. But we'll start off with welcome. Thank you very much for making the trip to see us here in lovely old London.
Thank you.
And
Thrilled
also,
to be here.
And also, big thank you for bringing the weather.
I thought you rolled it out for us.
No,
I was going to say, thank you.
It's been miserable up until the last couple of days, so thank you for that. It's amazingly warm. So what is it like now to be coming over here and to still see legions of fans that are loving Pokemon even now?
I think it's pretty overwhelming, actually. It's amazing that I started Pokemon in 1998, and here we are today still talking about it. You guys are all a little older, I guess we all are, and a little taller. But it's a remarkable thing. And as I say, you know, Pokemon, I think, really started out as an advertisement for the games. But it had such heart and made such an impact, we still are able to carry on conversations about it even today. It's one of the most remarkable shows I've ever worked on. And getting a chance to meet people and hear your stories, and I mean, it's been a huge part of our lives. Rena was born after the first season of Pokemon. So we've been on a journey, haven't we?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Such a journey.
Yeah, but it's been pretty neat.
Yeah, it's been great. I think, too, just like even seeing people with shirts walking down the street is just really fun.
Right.
And then you go, oh, nice shirt. And they're like, oh, yeah, whatever. So it's fun.
Oh, hey, nice shirt.
Yeah. They're like, oh, don't talk to me.
Yeah.
I have
like
to get
Charmander,
to
too.
They're like, I have to get to work. Go away.
And Rena, what was it like growing up with your mum being the voice of Ash Ketchum and all did you ever get into any kind of like debates with your friends about Pokemon? Or?
No. No one really cared, honestly, about me at all. There were some people in the beginning, like, I don't know, when I was really little, and they used to play the card games at school. And I remember one time I walked over to them just because I wanted to be cool and like get into this group or whatever. I was like, yeah, my mom's like the voice of Ash Ketchum. They're all like, okay, yeah, whatever. And then they like turned back to their game and kept playing. So I was like discouraged, and it didn't really matter. So I stopped.
No points.
Yeah, so no one cared at my school. So I just had friends. But now, because we travel so much, and especially in high school, which secondary school I think is here. Anyway, but some of my teachers are young, and so I would be like, oh yeah, I'm traveling and going to a Comic-Con. And then it would lead to, oh yeah, my mom is the voice of Ash, and there were some times when they're like, what? Oh my God, can I get an autograph? I'm like, yes, you're my teacher.
Finally.
Give me a good grade. So I'm like, I'll trade you for this. It didn't really work out that way, but I still did okay.
Yeah.
So,
when Rena was little, I used to go on a lot of the field trips and stuff like that, so people knew me as just Rena's mom.
Yeah.
And that's really all they needed to know me as.
There was a funny time, though, when we were looking at, there's like a university fair at my school where the universities come, they set up tables, and they try and get you to come to their school. And I guess there had been a rumor going around that, like, my mom's the voice of Ash. And so I had mentioned it to one person a little while ago, and they were really excited about it. So we went to this fair, and we were walking around. It's in my cafeteria. And then this, like, group of guys were following us around.
They were senior.
Yeah, they were older than I was. They were a couple of years above me in school, and they were following us. And like we were walking around in my cafeteria, like super small, and we're walking around the tables, and I just keep looking back, and it just gets bigger and bigger, and this group of like guys are just following us. Finally, I was like, okay, they know like who you are, they want to speak to you. So we turned around, and they were like, oh my God, I love you so much, and it was just hilarious. It was just really funny.
Rare.
Never happens. I mean,
Yeah.
It didn't happen to me.
Yeah.
No one cared about me, but it was sort of funny.
Still awesome times. That's why we travel.
Yeah.
So
Led to some fun parent-teacher evenings, I imagine.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah,
so.
it could have.
Yeah.
If
My
I'm-
teachers are very cool about whatever,
Right.
so they don't really care. But it's nice when they do. It's always a little bit fun.
And what do you feel? What is it like now? I mean, you're going out and you're seeing like people dressed up as Ash. Do you ever kind of think, "Wow, I did that. I had that much of an effect on people"?
I think I don't really take credit for that. I just think I think Ash is kind of the everyman character that we all relate to, and we all are on the journey through Ash. And that to dress up like him is another way, or any of the characters really, is another way to kind of jump into the story. And I don't really say, oh, you're dressed like me, or I did that. I just think, wow, isn't it amazing that this story had such depth to it that we can relate to it. And for myself, to be able to kind of jump into the sneakers of Ash at work and be this amazingly positive boy, even though I was a girl, and just because he is all of us. So I don't know, the fact that I could just have such a great acting job, I think of it more like that. And he's a character that I love, so more so I love seeing Ash walking around.
And
Thanks, Ash.
and when you first got the role, how long did it take you to kind of craft the voice?
Just right there in the audition. So we just went in. When you're auditioning for things, you don't have a lot of time really to come up with voices. For this project in particular, we were able to watch a clip of the original Japanese, and then they wanted the voices to be similar to those actors. So I just got to hear that a little bit, really a tiny bit. Look at the script, and then I auditioned. So, and then I could think about who Ash was, but really you have the directors and producers and everyone saying, we want it to be a little higher, or, all this stuff. So it wasn't a lot in my control.
And recording voice acting can be quite strenuous, especially when you've got a large series of episodes like Pokemon has. And you mentioned at the time, just after the first series, or around about that time, you became a new mother with Rena.
Right.
So what was it like kind of balancing the two?
Well, luckily for me, voice acting is in segments of time. So I could work on Pokemon for maybe 4 hours in the day. And then I would have other jobs that I would piece in. So my, especially when Rena was really little, I would just piece it around her schedule. Actually, all the way until this year. Yeah, when she started university. So I would be able to kind of go to work for as much time as I could, pick her up from school, and then maybe she would come back to the studio with me and I would have another job later on, or things like that. So it was all pieced around. I think all of us can agree that our life-work balance is very difficult, and you have to figure out, for me, my priority was my daughter, and then having a job so I could pay for her and rent. So I was able to balance it in a better way, but she really came first. So field trips were first, work later. If she was homesick, I would have to cancel work.
So in effect, and you'll forgive me for saying this, you said, I choose you.
I choose you. Oh, be my Pikachu.
No. Never.
Yeah, I did. I said,
Yellow.
I choose you. No, but your hair is yellow.
Yellow isn't my color, except for my hair.
Yeah.
So if you don't forget there are two microphones there that are open and you can stand
It's
behind
hard
them.
for us to see. Can you see?
Just about, yeah.
Okay. We have these lights
they
here.
will up the lights on them for you. But one of the things that is happening later this year is the 20th Pokemon movie is getting its release.
Yeah, I know. So exciting.
It is, and it is entitled I Choose You.
Right.
And it does kind of focus back on the era that you were involved in Pokemon.
Right.
How surprised were you to see when another voice actor actually started an online petition to get you to do the voice of Ash again? What was that like?
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. I mean, I would love to be Ash again, especially in the movie where he looks like he looked when I was Ash. So the idea that there's such a fan fervor for that is quite humbling and overwhelming. And I would hope that it could come to pass so that I could take on that great honor of being Ash again. So far, I haven't heard anything, but But I would love to do that. It's been amazing that so many people have been emailing to Pokemon USA and asking about it, and it's been amazing.
All right, if we want to go on Twitter and start it, hashtag bring Ash back. Always.
There you go. That's good.
There we go. But for you, did you ever think that when you first took that job, when you walked into that booth that first time, you delivered your first lines, you'd done your first day, that you'd be here all this time later with people still clamoring to kind of want to hear about it, want to know about it?
Right. No, I didn't at all. Nor did I know that the story would be one that we could have something to talk about all these years later. I've never I've had, I guess the longest jobs I've ever had have been 1 year when I toured the United States with different acting companies. So to have Pokemon for 1 year, and then it was renewed, and then again and again. It was amazing to work for 8 years on a show that I loved so much. But I never dreamed that, even when we started on it, I didn't even think we'd have 52 episodes. So yeah, it was really amazing.
It's incredible because most animes have a very kind of shorter lifestyle.
Yeah.
And yet the seasons of Pokemon, what was it, 52?
52 episodes, yeah.
That's incredible.
I know.
And how long did that take you to do each season?
Yeah, we would do 1 to 1.5 episodes a week.
Wow.
So they were really cranking it through, especially when you consider that we all went in separately to record our lines, and then they had to mix it together, add the music. They were still adapting scripts and doing all of that to even have 1 episode a week is really, I think, it's quite an accomplishment.
It is. That's impressive.
Yeah, so that's why people ask about like us goofing around at work, and there really was, we were moving quickly on it because you had to take the least amount of time to work on something, and they had it down to a science on how long they would book you, how many hours, based on how many lines you had, and you really had to stick to that.
Wow.
Yeah.
But it was great for me. I had a great time. Because they also, on every Friday, they had Bagel Friday.
Yes.
That
Sometimes
was
pizza
the best
on Wednesdays.
Time. That was my favorite time to come. I mean,
so when Rena could be sick and come to work?
It was because of Bagel Friday.
That's right.
It's my favorite part.
Yeah.
Were you ever tempted to get behind the mic when you were there, Rena? Did they ever kind of...
Were you, Rena?
Well, it's funny you should ask, because I actually did, we were Sentret on Pokemon.
Rena was so small, I had to lift her up to the mic, and she did Sentret's voice, and then I matched it, and then they blended the two of them together. We're both Sentret.
Yeah. So
I think you could have been 3 or maybe 4.
And then I did something else on...
Some other anime things like Boy Who Wanted to Be a Bear.
Boy Who Wanted to Be a Bear. I was the little girl bear, so...
Can we say that? Rena couldn't even read then, so she was standing at the mic, I was sitting on the floor, and she's looking up at to match the lip flap, and I would read the line out loud to her, and then she would do it. Because she couldn't even read yet. She was 12.
I still can't. Yeah.
No, you were 3. I mean, really, you were so small.
Yeah, I was little.
Could have been 6. You could have been a first grader.
Yeah.
Anyway, still really. No, before you could read. That's 4.
Yeah.
Anyway, she's amazing.
So that's my claim to fame. It's funny because I tell some of my friends that now. I'm like, yeah, well, I was on Pokemon, and then they're like, oh, well, you're so famous, Rena. Like, you're the biggest part of the show. Like, why is your mom being invited? You should be invited to these things. Like, it's very funny. They make fun of me, but it's funny. We get a good laugh.
Yeah.
And what do you think was the hardest line for you to do? Because there's lots of long lines and long things in there. What was the hardest one you delivered, do you think?
So the hardest line I ever had to say was the last one I ever had to say, simply because we knew that we were being replaced. And we found out towards the end of the 8th season, and we were still recording it when they said, we've already found replacements, we don't need you anymore. And just knowing that it was coming to an end, I think that was really it's so sad. But I can't remember what I actually said. Was like, sayonara, or something. Ash would never say that. But I think, I don't know, nothing was really that difficult. Ash kind of talks around in here. So most of it is figuring out, if you have a cold, how to pop his voice up or get it out of the nasal area and get it down a little bit so that it can still sound like Ash, even if I'm kind of stuffed up or something.
Wow.
Yeah.
So for you, when you found out, like you mentioned there, that they're going to be replaced, how could you carry on doing that? I mean, when they've told you and you're just still recording, was it just a sense of pride that drove you to finish on, even though they said, right, we're not going to be needing you after the season?
Oh, no, definitely. We were, I mean, all of us were very committed to this show. It was something that we loved, and luckily we were working on it, you know? Yeah. But it's just that you still... I mean, I think something that Pokemon has really taught me is that no matter how you feel that day when you go to work, it's the same for all of us. You really need to give 100% because you don't know how far that moment in the booth, let's say, how far that will reach. I mean, look at this. We're here all these years later still talking about that. And if I had been, or any of us had been just like, I don't think it matters anymore, you still have to be the characters. So it didn't really affect, in a negative way, recording. It just was bittersweet.
That's a very good way to put it.
More bitter. No.
And then you have come back into Pokemon, and you've been Ash's mother.
Yeah, I was Ash's mom and May.
And May, yep. So what was it like when you were Ash's mom? Did you try to keep any of the voice characteristics from Ash in his mother, or did you try to differentiate?
For that, they let me be his... When I first was cast as Ash, they wouldn't let me play anything else. Because they said, we don't want it to sound... anything to sound different, or the same as Ash. So everybody else got to play a lot of characters, and they wouldn't let me play anyone else. Then they said, well, you know what? You could be Ash's mom, because they're in the same family. So that's fine. And then later I got to play other characters. But, you know, she's around here. She doesn't sound like Ash, do I? So it's really, they just happen to look alike.
Yeah.
Just happen to look
She's
like.
also so...
She keeps her hair in the bun because she has like the same spiky hair in the morning.
That's right. Yeah, she puts a net on.
Yeah.
She should wear a kerchief or something.
Yeah, but
Mr. Mime does her hair.
Scrunchie, right?
That's what it is.
Yeah.
And if you would like to ask a question, the mics are open. You just have to stand behind the little microphones there. Do not be afraid. They have
There's a spotlight on them.
Yeah.
Be like
if you
a little...
go like this, you can block. Yeah, so if anyone has any questions, just pop on up.
There's a gentleman there that's gone up.
All right.
Hi there.
You really, nice suit.
Oh,
this
thanks.
is a casual affair usually, but I like that you dressed up.
Cheers for that.
Yeah, to you too.
I was mostly just interested in the fact, like, you say you work with the other voice actors.
Yeah.
Are you still close with the rest of them? Or you still keep in touch with people like...
Yeah, definitely. We all recorded in New York City. I recently moved to Los Angeles. Eric Stewart, for instance, lives in Nashville, Tennessee. Rachel Lillis lives out in LA. And so we all keep in touch, but we don't necessarily see each other all the time. I came in touch with, pretty much most of the people who worked on the shows I worked on. All the guys, all the turtles, we're all still friends. And, you know, the thing about voice acting is that a lot of times you're in the booth alone, and yet you still become friends with people because you see them at other auditions or in other shows or things like that. So we worked together. A bunch of us did a play once in New York because we all were friends. And so we do keep in touch.
All right.
And the great thing, too, about conventions is that we end up seeing so many people
while
anyway.
We're traveling.
Yeah. So that's a good way to keep in touch, too.
Right.
Because we usually don't have a ton of time, like, during the week. But
we're working.
It's great to kind of meet up on the weekends when you're at a show by coincidence. So that works out.
Hiya.
Hey, so one of the great mysteries of Pokemon, and I want to know your thoughts on this, is who's Ash's dad? Who do you think Ash's dad is?
You know, I have no idea. We all have our jokes and things we like to say. You know, like Giovanni, wouldn't that be funny? I'm just saying. But aren't we all saying that? It's just such a weird thing if it were. But ultimately, I have no idea. It never has been brought up. But I do think I think part of that not knowing is part of the reason Ash started his journey in the first place. I think in a way to discover that part of himself that he didn't know. And so I think that all of us have had some loss in our lives, and it sends you off on a journey in search of something. And I think his not having his dad around, although he and his mom have a fine life.
And Mr. Mime.
And Mr. Mime is the stand-in dad, although they both wear gloves. I'm not sure.
Bonnie? And
No,
Mr.
Mr. Mime.
Oh, and Ash.
But
Would that be bad?
Mr. Mime will never say anything about
Would that be bad though? Like,
No, I'm joking.
If he's a
No.
no, I'm saying like if he's a Pokemon trainer, but his dad is Mr. Mime. That's just doesn't.
There's
seem like,
no. There's
I don't
many
know.
things
Maybe
wrong
that's
with
why
that.
he's such a good
No,
trainer.
no, no.
Maybe that's why he's such a good trainer. Because he's half Pokemon.
No.
Oh,
Yeah, but-
shipping has just
but-
taken to a whole new level now.
But it's possible. But anyway, I do think I think that's part of it, and part of why Ash's mom lets her 10-year-old son go on a journey with just a backpack full of maybe 2 pairs of underwear and a friend who says he can cook. So I don't know. Sometimes I don't need to know, but I think we all kind of wonder.
I can see the headlines in tomorrow's Pokemon fan websites.
We never thought about Mr.
But that's the
Mime.
thing. Like maybe
No.
that's why he's such a good trainer. Because he can speak to them. He can like relate to the Pokemon because.
Psychically. It's just because Mr. Mime was his nanny.
All right, fine. We can leave
We'll
it at that.
we'll stay with that. Oh, I can't.
What you will with that little bit of information.
No. All right.
A question for Jen.
Good to see you again.
That's funny.
Hi, of the Pokemon, now what of our voice actors do you do now? I know you do like the Slayers for Voiceboy and Media, but what else?
So I work pretty much every day on something. When I was working on Pokemon, there were a ton of cartoons that you could easily find in the morning or on Saturday mornings. A lot of the stuff I do right now is not as easily found. I'm in a show that's premiering this weekend on Sprout called Ollie and Moon. It's an incredible children's travel show. These 2 cats travel around the world, and I play all the other female characters, except for 1 or 2. Super fun. It's cartoon characters with real backgrounds. It's going to be great. I think it is tomorrow the 27th?
Yes.
It premieres tomorrow. I'm working on a show for Nickelodeon that comes out sometime, I don't know when, but as soon as I find out, I'll put it on Facebook and Twitter, because I don't know when it's coming. I do a lot of audiobooks. I'm working on Sailor Moon. I play Sailor Pluto now, and it's very exciting. I do a lot of stuff for kids. I do a lot of learning apps also, which I do kind of video games and also narrating things and whatever. So I'm pretty busy with a lot of stuff.
I heard you did Final Fantasy Final Fantasy?
Final Fantasy, yep, Dissidia. Yep, I play Cosmos in that.
Wow, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I try to update things on, my website's under construction, but I try to update things on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, so you can find out how busy I am there.
We have a question from an aptly dressed
It's
person.
Pikachu.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay. I have one question for you.
Okay.
That is, were there any memorable moments from when you're doing voice acting work?
Yeah. I think one great thing, which is not exactly what you're asking, but I love auditioning for things because I get to create right there wherever I want the character to go and come up with 3 different ways I want it to be. And that's fantastic for me, whether I get the job or not, that I have almost every day things I'm working on, even just for an audition. I had one time when I was working on His and Her Circumstances, Yukino, she had a lot of very long screams as she's in her own mental whatever. And so one time I was in this long scream, the background is swirling around behind her, and I should have taken a breath, but I didn't. And so at the end of it all, I just fainted.
Oh.
And which is sad because, you're in a booth, so you're going da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And then I just had to kind of, I'm okay, because they're looking like, where did you go? So that's somewhat memorable, the part I do remember.
Okay.
But I don't know, being able to be so many different characters is fantastic to me. In one day, I could be a 10-year-old boy or a 90-year-old woman, a sheep or a pig, or, you know, all of that. And just to be able to kind of breathe life into everything. I mean, anything is possible.
Okay.
That's the most memorable to me.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, that is all the time we have.
Wow,
so, ladies
perfect.
and gentlemen, please give a massive round of applause to Rena and Veronica Taylor.
Thank you all so much. And we'll be back at the table at 4 o'clock for signing. And then we're here all weekend long, too, so I hope to see you all. Thank you.
Sorry, quick, you mentioned your Twitter and Facebook.
Yeah.
Tell people how they can connect with you via those.
On Twitter and Instagram, I'm at the Veronica T, which is THE, Veronica T. And on Facebook, I am the Veronica Taylor. You can find me there. But I'll find you
We've got all the
out there.
information. We've got all the information too at our table, so you can come on by and take a picture of our sign, so you'd never forget.
Yeah. Yes. Thanks, you guys.
Thanks.
Hey.